Hi Sagittarius, welcome to your October 2025 astrology forecast. We are in Libra season, which means the sun is traveling through Libra in your 11th house. So there's a lot of vital energy and focus on friendships, social networks, and any sort of collaborative work environments or any kind of communities that you belong to. Now, the 11th house is also related to our goals and aspirations. So with Libra being a Venus ruled sign, there may be focus related to finding some sort of harmony, balance, maybe even creativity related to the way you connect with others and the way you express yourself in social settings. Moving on October 4th, Venus perfected a conjunction with South Node. This happened at 18 degrees of Virgo in your 10th house. Typically, the South Node is related to some sort of karmic endings. So this can talk about some sort of ending related to your career, work, any sort of professional responsibilities tied to your career. When South Node is combined with Venus, though, it can really talk about you just kind of feeling a lack of fulfillment in what you're currently doing. So there can be, this energy can bring in a lot of feelings of possible like imposter syndromes or just falling out of love with your career path. So you may be experiencing some sort of endings in this area of your life or starting to think about potential alternative paths related to your career. But on October 6th, we had the full moon in Aries, which fell in your 5th house. So full moons typically talk about culminations, and this can be related to some sort of romantic situations or even creative expressions or children. Those are the typical themes associated with the 5th house. On this day, though, there was another strong energy, and this happened when Mercury entered Scorpio in your 12th house. And as Mercury entered Scorpio, it squared Pluto in your 3rd house. Now, square aspect is a very tension-driven, conflict-filled energy. Involving the 12th house and the 3rd house, there's some sort of hidden truths, hidden information that surfaces from your subconscious. And this creates some sort of conflict between your personal truth versus possibly societal expectations or what is considered normal in your social dynamics. So you may have to deal with some sort of realizations or epiphanies around things that really light you up, because the 5th house is the things that you enjoy doing in your private life versus the things that you're doing in your public sphere of life around other people. The Mercury square Pluto energy also talks about things that you love to do or you enjoy doing that you don't really share with other people because it's a bit unconventional. It's private and it's personal, and there may even be conflict related to thinking that you may not be accepted for those things. There is this sense of holding yourself back, a feeling of suppression with Mercury in your 12th house. It just means that you're not speaking your personal truths. You're keeping things hidden, but for whatever reason that Pluto in the 3rd house wants to communicate and share that information. So either you're realizing something about yourself or you're opening up about something personal to other people. The full moon can also talk about a sense of tension related to two different areas of your life. Involving the 5th house and the 11th house, it can even talk about, creative dreams clashing with social norms, because we are going to have a lot of energy moving through your 11th house and your 5th house, especially later in the month as Venus enters Libra in your 11th house, opposing that Saturn and Neptune in your 5th house. And Venus is actually entering Libra on the 14th of October. And this shift into its own sign in your 11th house is extra potent and special because this Venus is part of a kite configuration. It's one part of an aspectual pattern involving other planets. This Venus is opposing Neptune at 0 degrees of Aries on the cusp of your 5th house. Venus is also forming a grand trine aspect involving Uranus and Pluto. Now, the grand trine typically talks about a flowing energy where Uranus, Pluto, and Venus are working together to cause some sort of commotion, a change, or transformation. But Uranus and Pluto are not easy to handle. You know, they speak of disruptions and metamorphoses related to death and rebirth. And their end goal is really to create some sort of lasting, permanent change through disruption and through shaking things up or shaking the current norm or standard or status quo. So even though it is a grand trine, it can be unsettling and restless type of energy around this time. Now, with the Saturn and Neptune at the kind of apex of this kite configuration means that their energy is really important because they serve as more of like the purpose and the drive for all of these planets coming together and working towards something bigger. When Venus is opposing Saturn and Neptune in your 5th house, we're really dealing with a sense of self-doubt, questioning our self-worth, especially compared with other people, because again, we are dealing with the 11th house Venus. So, which means that we're comparing ourselves to strong, possibly even, you know, independent, successful friends that we have. And for whatever reason, this Saturn and Neptune limits and blocks the way you relate to yourself or see yourself compared to other people. And a lot of this energy can have to do with creativity and especially assertive self-expression or creative self-expression, because again, we're dealing with Venus and Neptune in the 5th house. So these are really creative energies. And another way this kite configuration is trying to bring into your focus or your attention is you really need to find like-minded people, because that Venus in Libra in the 11th house really talks about connecting with people who you relate to in a very harmonious, peaceful way. And you do have, you know, Uranus traveling through your 7th house, which can talk about a lot of shifts and changes that are happening in your one-to-one relationships. And it doesn't have to be romantic. It can definitely be friendships as well. Whereas the Pluto in your 3rd house is talking about transformations in the way you express yourself, in the way you communicate, but also just the type of information that you also absorb from your immediate environments. This energy can also really ask you to find more creative people to surround yourself as well, because there's definitely a sense of creativity that's trying to emerge or get your attention. You may not be giving your creative gifts or talents a lot of room to breathe because you have that Virgo in your 10th house, and Virgo can be very traditional, meticulous. So maybe the paths that you've walked so far in your career have been, you know, traditional 9 to 5. It fits into social acceptance or expectations. So maybe your soul is really calling you towards some sort of unconventional paths, because Saturn and Neptune in your 5th house is like, there's a calling, but there's a part of you that's rejecting that call. So this month is bringing a lot of personal truths to the surface, and it can be difficult. On the 21st of October, we have a new moon in Libra. Again, that's activating your 11th house. And this is talking about new beginnings related to group affiliations and social alliances. So you may actually be looking to make new kind of friends in social networks. Again, Libra is a Venus ruled sign, and Venus is right there in the 11th house. So it's a really great time to find people that are like you, that you jive with naturally. This new moon is especially powerful because on the same day, Mercury and Mars are forming a conjunction in Scorpio in your 12th house. And this can really talk about your hidden personal truths or even private obsessions that's motivating this shift in your group dynamics. Now, as I said, the 11th house can also be your aspirations, your goals, and your dreams, especially with Venus moving through this house, and Venus being the ruler of your 11th house can really talk about your dreams as well. So if there is something that you know you want to move towards but you haven't yet, this Venus South Node conjunction at the beginning of the month, as well as this new moon in your 11th house, can really set things into motion. And the Mercury and Mars in your 12th house can really be a difficult energy, but it's a needed confrontation with your own personal truths. So it's you really having to face your own self and what you have been doing to hold yourself back. There may even be, resentment around self-suppression. So there are a lot of things that you need to deal with that's probably likely to be surfacing from your emotional world, from your intuitive world. On the 24th of October, this Mars and Mercury is forming a grand water trine involving Jupiter and that Saturn and Neptune in Pisces. Now, Saturn and Neptune in Pisces are technically in your 4th house, but Neptune is at 29 degrees, almost like 0 degrees Aries, which is your 5th house. And Saturn is also 4 degrees away. So I consider those energies to be more impactful to your 5th house. So this month is ending with this inner sense of force that comes through that really is asking for some sort of healing and rejuvenation. And it can really set you on this new path of hunger, desire and drive. You can start feeling a lot of drive to accomplish or act in some sort of way that fuels your courage to face your own fears, because that Jupiter in Cancer is traveling through your 8th house, which can talk about personal fears, as well as the Mars in the 12th house. You really having to face off with yourself. So we are really ending the month with a lot of emotional depth, psychological insight, as well as potential for healing through art and creative expression, possibly even children, because the 5th house is always involving children as well. Another interpretation for this energy, because the grand trine is happening in water, which is a very fertile energy, it can create fertility, but also birthing a new path related to creative self-expression, speaking your personal truths, even if it goes against the grain, even if it goes against social norms. So October really feels like a month where you have to face yourself. You have to deal with your inner truths and really confront your own fears, and maybe the ways that you may be holding yourself back in the name of society and conformity. But there's a lot of internal truths that's surfacing, and it seems like you have the courage to deal with all that. Good luck, Sagittarius. Bye.